opportunity to meet someone whose light never dims. As the host of the Girls Talk Real Talk podcast, I had the opportunity to talk with one such person, Letrise Carter. Listen in as Letrise shares her journey as an author, her breast cancer journey, and an exciting event about to take place in her life. This is one conversation you do not want to miss. Hey everybody, it's your girl Michelle with Girls Talk Real Talk, because when girls talk, just about anything can happen. So today on our show, I have a very special guest. Her name is Letrise. So I'm going to stop talking and I'm going to let Letrise introduce herself.
Well, first of all, Michelle, thank you for having me. Like she said, I am Letrise Carter. I am a published author. I am also the CEO and founder of Sisters Place online magazine, as well as digital and print. I am also a breast cancer survivor. I'm a mother. I'm a sister. And, I believe in empowering other women. So that's why I'm here. I have my purpose. Thank you.
Okay. Well, we are so happy that you are here with us today. Let's jump right into it. So one of the things that you said in your intro was that you are an author. So what genre do you write under?
Well, I actually write in a couple genres, romance, thriller, and my latest release is new adult fiction. And I actually kind of stumbled into that during this last year and a half. It was embedded deep in my spirit, and I kept, ignoring it at first. And then, I didn't want to write it, but then that voice kept saying, write the story. So I ended up writing the story, and I wasn't intentionally writing for new adult fiction. I was thinking in my head, oh, I'm going to stay in the romance, thriller, this era. But God had another plan for me because I have a message, and obviously I listened to that voice, and I wrote my first series in new adult fiction. So I'm writing in multiple genres. I don't want to limit myself. My mentor told me you shouldn't limit yourself. If the story comes to you and it's not something that you're familiar writing, still write it. Just follow what God is giving you. So I'm following what he's giving me. And I actually, would love to write in every genre.
Okay, so I want you to explain to me what new adult fiction is, because I've heard of a lot of the genres, but I have not heard of that one.
Okay, so new adult fiction is new. It's actually new, and it's for ages 18 to 26. It's specifically trying to hit those new adults, those millennials, so to speak. Telling stories in romance, stories that are empowering, encouraging. It's just a new genre to reach a different audience. And they're putting them in on, because you can't classify them as young adult fiction, because they're grown, and new adult fiction does have romance versus young adult fiction does not. So that's the difference between the new adult fiction and the young adult fiction.
So when you say that the new adult fiction has some romance in it,
and sex scenes, yes.
Okay, so is that basically what the genre is about, or is it action? Is it thriller? Does it have all of that?
Okay. It could be either one of those, variables. It can be action, it can be thriller, it can be suspense, it can be mystery, but it's catered toward that particular age range.
Okay, so I'm interested in let's back up, because I don't want to jump right into that. Let's back up. Because when I was learning about you, and I if you see me looking down, it's because I'm writing something so I don't forget to say it, because the bind be going 90 miles a minute. But I remember reading that you love to write, and
Yes.
that the reason that you love to write is it's because it is your way to escape and to find peace. So
Yes.
when did that all begin for you? When did that, because I write as a way of escape too. And I've been
Hmm.
doing it since I learned how to write. So
Hmm.
when did it start for you?
I was 16 years old, my junior year in high school, creative writing class. She wanted us to write a short story. And I decided, okay, everything that was going on at home, there was drama at home, there was, it wasn't peaceful. And she said, just step inside your imagination and write this short story. And so I wrote my first short story using my imagination, and I just, and my Mrs. Cooper is the teacher, who I love her to death. She read my story and she said, and for she was concerned. She goes, "Wait a minute, is this real?" I said, "No, not all of it. Some of it's real, some of it's fake. Because you get to use your imagination and you control the outcome." So she was like, you have something here, and I want to keep pushing you. And she kept pushing me, and she was the reason I fell in love with writing. So
Oh
I
wow.
started at 16. Yeah.
Oh wow. Now I remember creative writing classes, and I remember having to write short stories. But by that time I had already been journaling like a mad hatter. That was my escape. So you started writing. So what was the name? Do you remember the name of your very first short story?
It was called Savannah's Journey. That was, and I found it because we had to type everything out, and I found it, and I said, you know what? And I showed it to my daughter. I said, this is the very first story I wrote, and I actually have it in a box. And I said I was going to frame it because, I got an A++ on it. She gave me an A++ on it, and I was like, wow, this was my very first story. And when I went off to college, I took more creative classes, more writing classes. And there was one particular class, a professor, she took interest in me. I took that story and I expanded on it. And so it was like Savannah's Journey Part 2. And, I keep thinking that maybe someday I'll go back to it and actually write the full story and publish it.
Okay. Okay. So as you're going through this journey, life has a way of changing our direction.
Hmm.
And I know that you had said that you had a dream of becoming a journalist, but you had to be a little more practical when family came into it. So you got a degree in accounting and went into corporate America. And so at that point, children start leaving home. How did you deal with the empty nest syndrome that a lot of women deal with?
Well, you know what? I went back to school. I went back to school and got 2 master's degrees because I needed something to do. I needed to keep myself busy, and I was trying to find my way. So, and in my mind, I was like, well, I'll just go back to school. She's in school, I can go back to school. And so that's what I ended up doing. But I didn't, focus on my true dreams because I was thinking, oh, I'm in corporate America. I might as well stay in corporate America. It never dawned on me to, chase my dreams until I got a lot older. But yeah, I went back to school in order to deal with that emptiness because it was lonely.
It can be when we put our everything into our children, and then when they go off to live their lives, we no longer have anything to nurture. We have nothing to take care of. And so
Hmm.
it leaves us with a void to where we have to reevaluate our existence and what we're
Yeah.
going to do with our lives. So how did you get back into writing?
Um, I got back into writing a bad breakup, a very, very bad breakup. That, writing for me, whenever I used to get into huge arguments with my ex, was calming. I was sitting writing him letters. I mean, there were so many letters that he never got, but because that was my outlet, That was the way I can express myself, and then I can come to some type of peace of mind. But it was that last straw that got me to, fall to my knees. I'm like, okay, you know what? This man is interrupting my peace. This ain't working. I've tried and tried, and you know what? He must not be for me. So I'm gonna go ahead and let that go. And my pastor said, I need you to just write your thoughts, write how you're feeling, because if you keep it built up inside, you're gonna turn into a bitter Black woman, and I will not have that on my watch. And I was like, wow, he was serious. And so I started journaling, and the most important, I started talking to someone because I was hurting. It's 10 years. It's you've given 10 years of your life to someone else, and it's like you can't get that time back. So I was angry, and he saw me getting angry. He was like, I need you to write them feelings out. Write it out. Talk about how you feel. And I started writing, and I started blogging, and that made me feel good. I was releasing a lot of that pain and sharing my experiences and just stepping out on faith. That's what got me back to writing.
Okay. All right. Now, a lot of people will say that difficult experiences in life has thrown them into the challenge of writing. And so you said that you started a blog. So tell me about your blog.
So when I first started out, I started a blog called Sisters Blog. And I was writing about some of everything. I was writing about relationships. I was writing poetry. And I had a author who is now a coach to me. She was like, stop publishing these are some really good poems. Stop publishing all of this for free. She was like, I'm gonna need you to start compiling so that you can create a book. She was like, but this is really good. So the blogging for me was easy. It came to me, when I was in college, we had to do a lot of writing because I was originally a journalism major. And then when I got pregnant, my parents was like, writing is not gonna pay them bills. Pick something else or you're gonna come home. So I picked accounting. That was my safety net. So I had to step out of my comfort, and I was like, okay, well, you know what else can I write about? Because I don't want to come off as someone who is just venting. I'm just talking about all the pain and all my woe is me. So I started, searching around, doing a little research, and I saw there were a lot of authors. I saw people doing book reviews. I was like, oh, I can write about relationships. I can write about, I can do book reviews. I can actually interview authors. And then I was like, oh, I can do movie reviews and theater reviews. But how about I go and actually interview those directors? So that's how Sisters Place blog started. It started to evolve because people started to recognize me and started, oh, this is really good. I had one of my most popular blog posts. There's actually several, but there's one, it had 27,000 views. I wrote
Wow.
it was about leaving your kids in the car during the summer. And I ended up interviewing the gentleman who they passed a law in Georgia. It's named after the child. And I ended up talking and interviewing him, and that particular blog post had 27,000 views. And I hit the floor. I said, okay, I'm doing something right. Okay, so that's when I started digging more. So I started writing about community issues, things, injustice, and incorporating the author interviews because people like that too. But they were real. And then I wrote a post about finding your soulmate. That had another huge number of views. And I was like, okay, I'm on to something. So that's that blogging in it. And I was so free with it that it was very relaxing and calming for me. So
Okay.
that's the
So when
blog.
you were doing, yeah, trust me, I did a blog every day for 10 months, nonstop, Sunday through Saturday. So
Mm-hmm.
trust me, it is a lot. So when you were doing your blog, how did you get it out there so that people would know that it was there? How did you market it? Did you put it on social media? What did you do in order for people to get to really know that the blog was there?
Okay. Well, I did. I did promote it across social media, and I had did a little research, and there was this one particular blogger. She built her first blog, and she wrote a book about it, and she gave some great marketing tips. And I literally read her books. I read several blogging books and blogging tips and how to market your books. I built an email list, and I linked it to my blog, and people were signing up for it, so they would get alerts every time a blog would post. So, and I would tag certain people in media as well, and they will tweet my book out. I literally grew my blog using Twitter because I
Oh,
found my audience on Twitter, as well as there were several different bloggers on Twitter, like the Melon bloggers. All you had to do was use their hashtag and attach your blog, and they will retweet it to their audience. So I was getting traffic from other bloggers using their blog hashtags to come to my website. So that was like one of the biggest and best tips that things that I did to promote my blog. And I did that a lot on Twitter. And, especially when I realized, oh my goodness, I have an audience on Twitter. So I took advantage of many of the different blog platforms and used the hashtag just so they can retweet my blog out, all of my articles. And that was very helpful.
wow. Good. That's a good point. That's a good point for anybody who's blogging. You just gave them some great tips on how to get their work out there. Okay,
Mhm.
so you've done the blog, you've been blogging. How did the book come about? Deceitful Secrets. How did the book come about?
So Deceitful Secrets, I wrote that book. Oh my goodness. I wrote that book probably 3 years before I actually published it. I didn't think I was good enough when I first wrote it. I just wrote it. And I actually had, there's a best-selling author. She read it and she gave me feedback on it, but some of the feedback was a little negative, and I threw it in the corner and it sat there for 3 years because I didn't think I was good enough until I got with my mentor and my coach. She was like, okay, here's the things that need to be fixed. Here's some classes, writing classes that you can take. This will help make you better, and let me give you some tips and give you some structure, and we can make this better. And it was her who helped me. Her name is Tony LaRue. She helped me, and she said, this is really good. The storyline is good. You just need to learn how to structure it, conversation, dialogue. You're gonna have to, learn how to do this. So that book, I gave birth to that book in 2017, but I wrote that book 3 years prior to that. And it's
Okay.
funny how one person can come along and destroy a dream, But thank
I
God
think
for my
when,
mentor.
yeah, I think sometimes when we are not sure, we're not confident about whatever it is that we're doing, then we open the door to allow other people's negative response to what it is that we're doing,
Hmm.
to be the excuse that we use so that we don't have to continue down that road that God already has us on.
Yep.
So, what was the marketplace's response to Deceitful Secrets? But before you answer that question, give us a synopsis of what Deceitful Secrets is about.
So Deceitful Secrets is about it's a sister and two brothers. Well, she's not their sister, but two brothers and his wife. But the oldest brother has a relationship, a hidden relationship with her from the past that her husband doesn't know about. So he's always bailing his baby brother out of trouble, and he's madly in love with his baby brother's wife. See, so back in college, they were more than best friends. They were also cut buddies. A lot of people know what that means, cut buddy. That friends with benefits. So he has something that he's holding over her head, but he doesn't want her with his brother because his brother is a womanizer, and he's fine, and he knows he's fine. He knows he can have any woman, and she's a little insecure. So as the story unfolds, um, Taylor gets mad at her husband, and she goes back and she sleeps with Kelly again. So now he got a double secret over her. And so it kind of unfolds, and it just unfolds. And there's at the end of it, Taylor's going to have to decide who she wants: the brother, her brother slash best friend, or her husband. But her husband, he cheats, and she senses it, but she's not sure. So that's the overall synopsis of Deceitful Secrets. There's a lot of secrets going on. And here's the thing, the thing. Kelly being the oldest, he's the oldest brother, he's the big brother, he's always bailing everybody out. He can either destroy her relationship, or he can destroy Devin, and he can destroy his sister-in-law. So either way it goes, it's like he's the only one in the end who's going to be standing.
Oh wow, yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah, that's a good one. So as you were going through this process, and you was working with Tony to build this story and to get it to where it is now, what were some of the things that you learned that you even use now in the writing of other books?
Well, actually, it's different, because when I wrote Deceitful Secrets, I didn't use an outline. I didn't do a character development, nothing. I just sat down and wrote that story. So, and because I tell everybody, the characters told that story. I didn't tell that story. The characters told that story. So now I actually sit down. I do an outline. I have a storyboard. I actually plot every story out now, because I have so many ideas, and I'm like, okay, I need to make sure I'm putting the right stories with the right books, the right characters in the right books, because I want it to be clear and I want it to be a strong story. So I do a lot of things different than what I did before. I don't rush like I did before, because I was so eager to get the book. I'm like, oh, I got to get this out. I want to be done in like 30 days. No. A good story takes time. And I had to learn that. That was a really big lesson that I had to learn. A good story takes time. Allow it to develop. Allow the characters to develop, and not do so much show and tell, because you'll lose your audience.
And that's the difference between nonfiction and fiction, because nonfiction can very easily be written in 30 days, and the story will be told, and as long as it's a good story and it's written well and it's readable, then it'll carry. But I've heard several fiction writers say that it's taken me time to write this book, that my characters had to tell me what it needed to be.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Because
yes. Because that happened to me.
I'm a nonfiction writer.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so as a nonfiction writer, of course, I have to do my research, because I don't put anything out that I haven't done research on.
Right.
And I am just now venturing into the fiction realm. And I actually did my very first story. It's a short story that I actually put on my blog. And it was in regards to suicide. Okay. And I really kind of like the idea of the characters and building up the characters and all of that, but I really haven't jumped off into it. And as a coach myself, and I help people write their books, I'm seeing the necessity of the outline, the necessity of the storyboard.
Yep.
So, is there online tech tools that you use to help you write your story? So don't tell me all your secrets, but just give me a couple of the tech tools that you use.
Well, I also take a bunch of different writing classes that are offered by Skillshare, Masterclass. There's I can't think of, I can see it. and I can't think of the name of it right now. A tool that I use. They're writing prompts. It gives you it'll it'll give you a word and you just write from it. It helps you to build your character's personality when you're researching about your characters, the plot, the setting, the place, the location. Um, right now, it's slipped my mind the name of this actual tool that I use, but it's off. One of the authors, she writes a lot of books that I read. Right, she writes a lot of writing technique books. KM Wheeling. She has a lot of art development books. She has worksheets that she gives, and it helps you to develop your characters, the writing arcs, the emotional, creating the emotions of your characters. There's a lot of templates and little sheets that she gives you. I do a lot of her stuff. She's really good and very informative. And like I said, I take a lot of workshops, a lot of writing courses, and I'm always on somebody's virtual event when they're giving out techniques and advice for writing, especially when you get stuck. Like when my character stopped talking to me, I thought it was just me. And my book sat for a year. And I was like, one of the books that I'm working on, it sat for a year because nobody was talking to me. And I literally had nothing, absolutely nothing. So, but those workshops and those classes help.
You know, you're not the first author that I've heard say that. And I myself cannot honestly say that I experienced that. Um, but when I was writing my last book, normally, and this is going to sound mad crazy, and I know it does. The longest prior to that book, the longest that it took me to write a book was 3 weeks.
Oh, wow.
And because I can get singularly focused. And so
Mm-hmm.
all of my waking time, if I'm not committed to something else, is dedicated to writing.
Mm-hmm. See, I work a full-time job my day
Well,
job takes away.
I get that because I have a full-time 9 to 5 as well. But that period of time I was on vacation. And so I
Mm-hmm.
had used that vacation to literally write the book. And it took me 3 weeks. It took me longer to self-edit and have the book edited than it took me to write the book. And that's
Okay.
crazy.
Yeah.
But I want to go back to something that you said, because in what you were saying, I think that is very, very key that sometimes the characters will stop speaking to you.
Yes.
And what I have found, and you tell me if this is true for you, what I have found is that during those times when I feel like I'm not getting my downloads, like God is not pouring into me so that I can pour it out on these pages,
Mm-hmm.
there's something else that's trying to get my attention.
Mm-hmm.
And for whatever reason, I'm not allowing it to get my attention. So it blocks me from receiving everything else. And one of the things that I do that kind of breaks that for me is I'll do a mindfulness exercise, and I will allow, and when I say mindfulness exercise, I do some meditation, and sometimes it's guided, sometimes it's not. And what it does is it allows me to have the thoughts come in and to flow out.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's something that is meant for me to hold on to and to maintain, then it'll come back to me and it'll tell me whatever message is meant to tell me. Um, is that been true for you, or is it been something else?
Usually, it's that's almost true for me. Usually, what I'll do, I'll when my character stop talking to me, there is a distraction. I'll go and I'll get quiet, and I'll get quiet and pray. And if God is trying to tell me something, I'll listen to music so I can relax. And when I say music, I listen to jazz instrumentals so that I can like really relax and just connect with my inner, with that inner voice, so that I can hear. Because a lot of times there's so much noise going on around us that you don't hear your characters talking to you because there's too many distractions. So I have to get quiet when my characters aren't talking, and go and, so that my body and my mind could be one. And usually that helps. And then when that doesn't work, I'll go read something that's completely opposite of what I'm writing. Because the one thing I can't do, I cannot read the same genre that I'm trying to write in, because I don't need those characters coming into my storyline. But like, this too familiar, but like, man, I done brought this woman's characters all in my story. Now I gotta start over. So I tell people, no, I can't read your book right now, because we writing in the same genre. That's not gonna work. So that's what I end up doing.
So. Okay, so it plays into that same concept that it's because we're distracted. There's something that's trying to get our attention, and we are not receiving whatever it is that's trying to get that attention. So for those people that are out there writing, I mean, we're dropping some gems here. So I hope that you're picking up these gems to begin to understand that there is a business to writing. It's not just sitting down, putting pen to paper, or getting on the computer and typing stuff. There is a whole mechanism, a business to the actual writing. And so as we step into this realm, I want to get into Lucy Mason. Who is Lucy Mason?
Well, Lucy Mason is a figment of my imagination. I had to create her. I had to create her, but I took pieces from people, other people's lives that I've passed in passing, that I've sat and watched them act a clear fool. And I'm like, on the train, like, oh my goodness. It is true what they say. Be careful if you sit next to an author, because you might end up as a character in her book. And, so I decided to create Lucy Mason in the image of several people that I have, interacted with over the years, and took a little bit from my childhood as well to incorporate in her, because I wanted to send a message to young people about knowing your worth. And, knowing that you, especially young Black women, you don't have to be in an abusive relationship. You don't have to lower your standards to get somebody to like you, because that seems to be really big with, with this younger generation. Oh, he got to like me. And, I got to post it on Facebook, or Instagram or TikTok or whatever all those other platforms are. But I wanted to send a message. So I took pieces from various people's lives, and it was like, okay, I'm sitting on the train, I'm watching this young lady cut up, and watching young men talk, like, you're gonna be a character. Okay, we're gonna do this. And it was perfect, because I sit and I observe. I'm real quiet when I'm out in public, when I'm on a train or something, I'm going to work. I'm taking notes, I'm making memos in my phone. I get off the train, I put my headset in, and I talk. I literally make a memo to myself walking. Well, this character is going to be like such and such. And so when I sat down, was writing the Lucy Mason series, and mind you, I told you this genre was an accident. I wasn't intentionally writing for this, because I wanted to write like a romantic drama, but it ended up being something different. So I guess, the good man upstairs had another plan for me for this story. So I just took pieces, because I wanted, create some lessons for some, some people, as well as, not old folks, Lord, please forgive me, mature adults.
Oh, mature adults, huh? All right, gotcha. So when you were writing Lucy Mason, so this is going to be a series, right? So you got book one already out.
It's a short story series. Starting out with a young lady. She starts out at the age of 18. She wants to be so grown, wants to be on her own, wants to do her own thing. She wants to be her own, she wants to be independent, but yet she doesn't want to get an education. And she's going to learn just how valuable that education is in book 2, which is Lucy's Faith. But in book 1, she has low self-esteem. She's the youngest of 3 kids, so she's feeling, that the older 2 kids get more favoritism over her. The girls are more beautiful in her eyes. They're more beautiful. The boys are more attracted to her older sisters, so she's feeling left out. And so she finally gets that first boyfriend, and he's a dog. He treats her so bad that she is going to have to make a life, it's a decision because it threatens her life. If she stays with this young man, he's gonna kill her. So it's a lesson that she has to learn, because she has to learn what her worth is, and she has to learn to love herself, and she has to learn to see her own inner beauty as well as her outer beauty. So that's Lucy Mason.
Wow. Okay, so that's Lucy.
Yeah, that's Lucy's Worth. Yes, that's Lucy Worth. And then it goes into a second installment, which is Lucy's Faith, where she makes a decision. She walks away and she goes off. Her oldest sister, they reconcile, but she still has some issues with her mother, because her mother cuts up in book 1. All the readers were saying they couldn't stand the mother in book 1. They were like, what's her problem? So it's going to be some reconciliation in book 2, where Lucy's going to have to learn to forgive. But in order for her to be able to move into another relationship, she's going to have to forgive that young man who hurt her in the first book, so that she doesn't punish any young man that comes into her life in the future, because that's something that is very prevalent in today. You get in a relationship, if you don't heal from that relationship, you hurt the next person that comes along, not even knowing that you're looking at him thinking he's the same person as the person you left. So she has a lot of lessons to learn, but most important, she's gonna find God in book 2.
Okay. That's gonna be Lucy's Faith.
That's Lucy's Faith, yes.
Okay.
And that'll come out sometime next month.
Next month?
Yes, next month. Sometime next month. I don't have an exact date. I had to stop putting dates on it, because every time you get I get edits back, I'm like, oh my goodness, this is gonna take this. I'm not gonna make the date. So I stopped saying, oh, I got a date. I'm just gonna wait. Once all the editing is done, then I can say, okay, here's my date. So, but I'm gonna say next month. And then Lucy's Heart it unfolds where she finally learns and finds true love, and she learns how to give her heart to someone, and her mom reconciles. So like I said, there's a lot of relationships that have to be healed along the way, and this goes from the age 18 to 26. See that hint? New adult fiction, 18 to 26.
Gotcha. So as you are doing your writing and whatnot, kudos to you for stepping into that genre and finding your voice, because a lot of times we will write, but we don't have a voice. We're just writing. Mm-hmm. So let's switch gears here. Let's for a little bit talk about Letrise. Let's talk about the woman, the mother. Let's talk about her. So what is something that you want your readership to know about you that they may not know?
Well, next month I'm going to be a nana. My daughter's having her first. Yes, I'm going to be a nana. And I'm excited. I'm really excited. She told me when she was in college, she goes, Mom, I'm not having kids until I'm 30. I was like, okay. And sure enough, she kept her promise. She's like, she's finishing undergrad and master's. She was like, no, I'm gonna be, I want to live, and I commend her for it, because, there's a lot of young ladies who are still trying to be young and do things that they're parents, but they still want to be young and be in the streets, Instead of, okay, you're a parent now, you got to switch hats. You can still, go on trips and what have you, but there's a certain thing where, I didn't get to do this when I was 21 because I had a baby. But I'm so proud of her that she waited. She's 30 and having her first, so I'm happy. So that's something no one knows about me.
Let me tell you, does she know what she's having?
Yes, we do. I'm getting a grandson, and we have already sat down and we were like, okay, I've bought so many books for him, to teach him about being a black man, being a young black boy. And I told her we have to teach him and train him upright because I want him to come home every day.
I'm
Every
with
day.
you there. I'm with you there. Um, I've got four. Oldest is 17. The youngest is 10 months. So I've got four of those little rascals. And my first one, the one that made me a grandmother, just turned 17 this past summer, and he's going into his senior year in high school. So let me tell you, I'm going to tell you straight up, the love that you have for that very first one, they steal your heart in a way that you'll love all of the ones that come thereafter, but that first one has your heart.
Mm-hmm.
That first one will have your heart forever. And it's an opportunity for us as parents to begin to see, now that we've got some wisdom and some maturity under our belt, there's a better way to do things with our grandkids that we didn't necessarily do with our own kids. And so,
Mm-hmm.
that was probably my greatest lesson that I learned. Okay, so you're going to be a nana, a nana or a nana?
Nana.
A nana. Okay, so I know that when we were talking, you had shared with me that you had dealt with breast cancer. Why
Yes.
don't you talk to us a little bit about that experience, how it came about, you know, how it changed your life?
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk a little bit about that.
Okay. Well, in 2019, I got diagnosed with, actually, July of 2019, I got diagnosed with breast cancer on the right. I'm one of those people, I get a mammogram every year. I've never missed a mammogram. And so that first year when I got diagnosed, it was devastating. I was hurt. I was angry. I got mad. I mean, when I tell you I got mad, I got so mad at God that he and I had a screaming. I was screaming at him, and my mentor, she was like, "It's okay, it's okay. Talk it out, scream. He know your heart." And it was during that first journey that I learned who my real friends were, even family members. Everyone, they put you in a box. And there were certain people that I had to remove from my life because, that first time that I was going through chemotherapy and radiation, I said, I don't want anyone negative around me because this is hard. It is extremely hard. I broke down. And I built a tribe of 6 women that stood by my side, including my daughter. They went to chemotherapy with me. They went to doctor's appointments with me. They came and took me to and from the doctor. They brought me groceries. They fed me. They came and checked on me. And everybody that kept saying, "Oh, I'm going to come over there. I'm going to do this," never saw them. And that showed me you have to truly value life because I was healthy. I'm like, I don't see how this happened to me. I told my doctor, y'all got the wrong test results. That can't be right. So I had to step back after I got through grieving that I had breast cancer, and I had to, make a decision to live or die. And I chose to live. So I got through chemotherapy. Chemotherapy was the hardest thing on me. It broke me down, and I am grateful for the friends and family that stood by my side. I ended a relationship during chemotherapy because people want it to be about them, and I didn't have the energy. I was like, I have to focus on me. I can't give you what, right now what you asking, I couldn't give it. So I had to learn to put me first, because I'm the one who was always helping everybody else. I was always running around helping people solve their problems. But when it came time for people to help me, I had a very small group that was there for me. And that showed me, number one, I had to put myself first and stop putting myself last. So I put me first, and I learned to say no. And then on the anniversary of the first diagnosis, I got diagnosed again July 15th, 2020, on the left. And that diagnosis made me cuss the first doctor out, because I felt like I was a number. I wasn't profitable enough, because the first time I was stage 1, right? And I was with my local hospital. And I was very angry, because when I tell you, I read everything, I researched, I asked all the questions, I was advocating for myself. Are you sure this is the right treatment? Are you sure there's no test that you can run to make sure chemotherapy is working? I want to make sure that we're not just frying my body, because I always say you nuked my body and you still missed it, and I don't understand. So I was so down and so hurt on that second diagnosis that I checked out. I literally checked completely out. And my brother said, why don't you go over to Cancer Treatment Center of America? Now, in my mind, I didn't think that my insurance was going to cover that, but I was wrong. And I kicked myself, because I was like, wow, I should have went over here the first time. I wouldn't be going through this a second time. And I got over there, they ran tests. They're not just about making you do chemotherapy and radiation. They're about getting to the root of the problem, trying to figure out why it happened. And they focus on mind, body, and spirit. And it was a completely eye-opener, because once they got done running all their tests, they were like, that second cancer formed while you were still in chemo. Those last 4 sessions of chemo that you did the first time, that cancer was forming. And all they had to do was do a PET scan. They would have saw it forming, and they could have changed my treatment and got it then. But the doctor told me, he said, well, I'm gonna tell you this, and I'm gonna be really honest with you. You weren't profitable enough at stage 1. See, now you're at stage 2. Now you're profitable. And what I learned, I was vitamin D deficient, so my body wasn't fighting cancer at all. I learned a lot over at Cancer Treatment Center of America. They educate you, especially Black and brown, how important having vitamin D. Do you know my vitamin D levels was at a 10 when they tested me? He said my body wasn't fighting. I got nuked the first time around. I did a total of 12 rounds of chemotherapy and 60 sessions of radiation. And that should not have been. I should have only had to go through chemotherapy one time and be healed the first time, instead of having to go about it again, but through a different facility. And I was so happy that on May 3rd, 2021, they did my scans, and I am cancer free. There is no cancer in my body. So it made me a better woman. It made me put myself first. It made me take better care of myself, and it made me say no to people. But it also makes me work even harder to educate my sisters about getting your mammograms, asking the right questions. Don't stay at your local doctor. They're not the experts. You need to go to the experts who studied this 24/7. You need to go over to Cancer Treatment Center of America. And the thing that a lot of people get misconstrued, I can't afford that hospital. Guess what? If you have a balance, they don't bill you. They have corporate sponsorship that will pay your chemotherapy for you. If your insurance doesn't cover it, they have sponsors that will pay for it. Because the last thing they want you to do is to be trying to make a decision, finances or my life. They rather you choose your life than worrying about your finances, because those bills will get paid by their sponsors. They have employees, they put money into a pool, they help you pay for yourself. I didn't come out of pocket of anything. After my insurance covered what they was going to cover, I didn't have to pay nothing. And I was, I kicked myself that I didn't go over there the first time, because I was in there. I was one of those people thinking, I can't afford them, but I could, but I thank God for now. So, I push and I tell people, educate yourself about those different chemicals that they put in your body, because the blessing in disguise is that they listen to me over at Cancer Treatment Center America. They'll tell you, like, this drug, your hair may never come back if we use this. I said, well, is there an alternative? They give you options. They help talk you through it, instead of some of your local doctors just, well, we're going to do this, we're going to try this, and if this doesn't work, we're going to try this. I don't want to be anybody's guinea pig ever again, because the first time around, I think I was their guinea pig. And with that whole black and brown, they don't give us fair treatment to heal us, we're a dollar sign. And so I learned that. I advocate a lot for us to make sure we're getting the right health diagnosis, because sometimes they'll misdiagnose you and put you on all this medicine, because it's money. It's a $1 billion industry. There is no reason that people should still have breast cancer. They've been studied over 100 years. So I don't get it.
Wow.
But we're going to find out.
Wow. That's, my brother just passed in January from a cancer diagnosis.
Sorry to hear that.
And one of the things that I dealt with him was the very first diagnosis was incorrect. And then he was re-diagnosed by, and it's crazy. It was the craziest story, but he finally got the right diagnosis, and he did lose his battle. And I miss him every day, but I'm certainly thankful to God that he sent you to where you needed to go to get the information that you needed, because your testimony alone is going to help other people go through knowledgeable, and they're not going to be taken advantage of. So we are coming to the end of our conversation, and this is the time that I like to give our guests an opportunity to share whatever it is that they want to share with our listening and our viewing audience. So is there anything that you would like to share with our audience?
Yes. Don't take life for granted. We're only given one life. Cherish it. Don't allow anyone to play it down. Be an advocate for your health. Be an advocate for your life, and just take care of you. Thank you so much.
You are more than welcome. So if someone wants to get in touch with you, how can they get in touch with you, Letrise?
Well, they can reach out to me on my website, latricecarter.com. They can also follow me on social media or send me an email at ltcarter7@gmail.com. I'm always willing to answer and talk to anyone.
Okay. So you've heard it straight from her mouth, and she has a wealth of knowledge to be able to share, not only in her personal life, but also as an author. Before we close out, there was one thing. Now, I told you there was a reason why I write stuff down, because I didn't forget already. Briefly tell us, what is Sisters Place Entertainment?
Sisters Place Entertainment is a online and digital print magazine. That started out as a blog that transformed over the years into an online platform, being a magazine where we interview celebrities, community leaders, etc., actresses, as well as authors. And that grew to a point where 3 years ago, I launched the actual magazine. So we have a digital print magazine that is quarterly, and it comes out 4 times a year on through our distributor, Mag Cloud. So you can get a print copy or a digital copy of our magazine.
So as you see, not only we've got books, we've got blogs, now we've got magazines. You know, I'm very thankful that you have used the talent that you have been given to be able to share with the rest of the world the messages and the information that, you know, we like to consume as individuals. Um, Thank you so very much for coming on the show today. I really appreciate it. Learned a few things myself that I didn't know. And I really hope that our listening audience has received the great information that you shared, because there's been a lot of nuggets that have been dropped. So I'm praying that people have got the nuggets and that they will use them accordingly. So this is your girl Michelle with Girls Talk Real Talk with our guest Letrise, because guess what? When girls talk, just about anything can happen. So we'll see you again next week with another great guest that will share their life and their business with us. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.